Give it up for the one and only Miss Amanda Seales. Good to be talking with you.
Hey, I'm imagining there's an audience clapping.
What up?
Apparently somewhere I had said what up though, and people were like, no, it's dough. And I'm like, I did say dough. They're like, no, you said though. I'm like, I said what up though. And they're like, no, the D is not strong enough in your dough. What up dough?
Hey, we got Amanda in the house, y'all. So first of all, some people may not remember or know, but this is a big throwback since the day we're recording this is Throwback Thursday. But you had a starring role in show back in the day called My Brother and Me. You were part of that cast. So, you've been in the game for a minute. So how was that time like? And then progressing to where you are right now?
I mean, I feel like, that was a really fun time because I wasn't like pursuing being like a child star, right? Mm-hmm. Like I was in Orlando. A lot of the kids on that show were from LA, and Nickelodeon had built a studio in Orlando. So they came to Orlando to shoot the show, but they had a whole different relationship to like the entertainment biz because they was from Hollywood, you know what I'm saying? Whereas like I'm over here in Orlando and Nickelodeon Studios was literally a 5-minute drive from my house. So it just kind of felt like, oh, this is thing I'm about to go do real quick. And then,
I'll be back.
I'll be back. And so when it premiered, like it ended up being such a big deal, and it only lasted for one season, but they aired that same season for 7 years. So I was kind of like trapped in time for 7 years. Like there's people who didn't get to the show until 7 years later. And it's like, if you're watching it 7 years later, you think I'm still 12. Right. But it was really
as we did with all those shows back in the 90s, right?
Listen, those shows, well, our show, we did one season, but Kenan and Kel took over from our set. So they actually came on right after us, and we were shooting across the hall from Gullah Gullah Island and from all that. So it was a whole era, 90s Nickelodeon was a time. It was a time. And I really honestly, I feel like I took for granted the fact that I was a part of that, but like, it really feels like I was a part of an iconic era.
Yeah, iconic era indeed. And you know what? But you haven't put yourself in a box. You haven't allowed yourself to put yourself in a box, right? I mean, you're a comedian, you're an actress, you're a social justice advocate. But like you said, being on that show, you weren't the Hollywood kid. So now that you have, your career has progressed, do you feel like in some ways you're having this big platform that you're seen as this big Hollywood person? Or
I mean, it is weird when people will call me a celebrity because I'm just like,
yeah, celebrity.
Where? Like, there are people who really buy into that, and so they live their life a certain way based on this whole idea of celebrity. Like people who like call the paparazzi to like get photos when they're leaving places. People who do things just to be seen. Like people who like do stunts. And I don't live like that. So you're
very authentic too.
Well, yeah, like I'm a very authentic person. Like I feel like I've maintained that, which was essential to maintaining my sanity, because this business that I'm in is full of like fake and phony, like opportunistic people. So it's real easy for folks to kind of get sucked up into that because it feels like you have to be like that to be successful. But no, I've really like kept my distance from that and continue to just operate as an independent artist. Like that's how I think about myself.
Independent artist. I love that because, you've used your platform for good in so many ways to speak about issues of our time. And people love that from you. It's like infotainment, right? Yes. But what compels you to speak out so strongly on issues that impact us as a people? I mean, you have celebrities who use their platforms in so many different ways, but it seems you really do speak truth to power. What compels you to do so?
Because you ever notice how like dummies be loud as hell? They just be loud. You be like, how you so dumb, but you just loud. So I be like,
loudest one in the room.
The loudest one in the room. And I feel like we are all stuck in this room right now where the dummies are just like yelling all the time. So I'm like, all right, I got to be louder than them. And I got to come harder than them and speak truther than them. And I'll do it anywhere I can, whether it's on this Instagram and gathering folks like a ponytail, or whether it's on stage, and so that's what's really fun about coming to an Amanda Seales show. It's like you're gonna get stuff about relationships, you're gonna get stuff about my childhood, etc., but you're also gonna get stuff about what's going on now. And I think a lot of people, they feel like they crazy because the dummies are so loud. So it's like a nice opportunity to feel sane because somebody else is on that stage saying what you think, and you're like, "Ooh, child, it ain't just me." All right, okay, all right.
We see each other.
Yeah, eye to eye.
How does it feel to be back on the stage, be back in Detroit for the first time since 2019? You talk about things kind of being back to normal, people being sane. We went through a whole pandemic.
Things are not back to normal.
And that's what I was about to say. Like, is it really back to normal?
No. Even touring, like, for what it's worth, like these shows, selling tickets is hard. And then you get threatened with like, we're going to cancel your show if you don't sell enough tickets. And then you also understand though, that like people are dealing with inflation. People are still dealing with like, making up the money they lost during COVID. People are still dealing with having COVID, like the actual physical ailment of COVID. Like I have so many times where people are like, I was coming to your show and then I got COVID, then people have to deal with just the fact that like, now that things are more open, everybody on tour. So, it's like, oh, well, I spent my money on this show, and I had to be frugal and I can't go to all the shows. So you're kind of competing with all these different aspects of COVID that are still very present. And I think that was something that I learned in real time on this tour. Like I thought about it just like Amanda's excited about going on tour. Look at me speaking in third person. I was like, I'm excited to get back out, not realizing that baby, everybody excited to get back out. You not just the only black outside. All of us black outside.
We all black outside. Right? And I know, and I see you were, a bit emotional about this on your Instagram recently.
Yeah.
But, I will say this. This is what people love about you, because while you have celebrities who will show you 24/7 all day long about how their life is so good and so rich, or almost so fake,
the glamorous.
But that's what people love about you, that you're so authentic, that you tell your truth. You show both the good and the bad. You keep it real, and that's what people love.
I really appreciate that, and I really feel like the people who don't rock with me like have not gotten to see that. Not gotten to see that.
You write that down.
Ooh, I'm tired. They haven't gotten to see that. I think I get a bad rap because people only see me in like certain lights. And then of course, some people just don't agree with my opinions on things. But ultimately, like what you see is what you get. And so you either respect that or you don't. You don't got to like it, but at least respect it. And I decided early on that if I was going to engage in this whole internet and, just the space of accessibility, that the only way it would be practical for me is to do it like in a genuine, authentic way. That's why I got cute for you, but like, if you watch me on Instagram, like sometimes, my hair be looking crazy. Sometimes I literally will be in the bed and I'll see something. Like I'm just waking up and I'll see something. I got to do a video about this right now. Like my hair ain't even done. Like my teeth ain't brushed. You getting hot air coming at that phone.
You're gonna get some of that on the show too.
But I'm saying like, this is what it is. But I feel like, I get a better audience because of that. Like I feel like my audience are the real ones. My audience are folks that are compassionate and that are also critical thinkers. My audience is comprised of like women who are about their business. And that doesn't mean like entrepreneurial, that just means that you as a woman understand like that you have agency and you gonna take it. And I feel like there's there's just a real beauty to having an audience that actually is made of caring people.
Yeah.
Which is why at all of my shows I'm having openers as comics, but I'm having closers, and the closers are organizers in the communities. So I'm having organizers in every city who are working on the ground come on stage and talk about the work that they do, why they're doing it, and how the audience can get involved. Because I'm really trying to like use my shows to be more than just comedy shows, but like to be community experiences. And we also partnered with this organization called Headcount, and they're going to be registering voters. So registering voters at my shows, organizers coming to my shows, and y'all coming to my shows.
Hey, AmandaSeals.com is how people can get tickets.
Yes, they can.
You also have, speaking of the those who are going to be the warm-ups, if you will, Randy Rosario here from Detroit, Comic J Will is going to be here. So y'all get y'all tickets. I do want to ask this though. I think for me, I really kind of got on the bandwagon with you. I'm so sorry, but you have a lot of fans from Insecure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you miss that show?
No.
Okay. The Real.
Uh-huh.
I really got on the bandwagon with The Real because I saw all your interesting viewpoints.
Really?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
You know what? That I'm always surprised when I hear of men who watch The Real. Like I used to get jail letters. From like a lot of dudes in prison that was like, we really like you joining the show. Like you're doing another level of realness. I'm like, okay, brother, do your time. And you know, the thing about The Real was I was just excited to come to that show and get to like bring another layer of topics and conversation. The audience didn't seem to really want that once we did that. There was a lot of pushback from the audience, and they were just like, we don't want to talk about racism. We don't want to talk about politics. We don't want to talk about social justice, and stop trying to like take our like happy show and turn it into a dark show, which is not what I was trying to do by any means. I just thought that they were bringing me in. Well, not I thought, but they were bringing me in to diversify the conversation. So it really means a lot that you saw me there and that resonated with you.
Yeah, it did. And I'm sure it resonated with some people who continue to follow you to this day.
I just remember I was dating a dude from Detroit, and like he was like, you know, it's like every day someone from my family is like, I saw your girl on The Real. Your girl was talking about politics on The Real today. Your girl does not like Donald Trump on The Real.
And she was keeping it real.
So Detroit was watching The Real. So shout out to all of y'all that came onto the Amanda Seals bandwagon with Andre.
Hey, I do want to make one more point, since you know you're going to be in Detroit, and you've been talking about Detroit lately, and that was news to me. You dated a Detroit homeboy.
News to me.
So, what is it that you know about Detroit?
Not much, honestly. Like, I mean, of course, we all know about Motor City and we all know about Motown. I actually was on this tour with the Hip Hop Caucus back in 2014 called the Toxic Tour. And we went to a number of different cities where we got to explore the way that environmental racism was impacting different cities. And so Detroit was one of the cities we went to. And it was just really disheartening to see just kind of like the way that gentrification was cleaning up parts of Detroit that should have been cleaned up before, because now that white people are living there, they want to move the incinerator. But when black people was living there, everybody just had to smell this garbage in the middle of the city just because. You know, then we like drove through Marathon, and they were telling us about just how the air had become so contaminated from the factories, and how like asthma and cancer had become basically endemic in these communities. And that was just really an eye-opening trip for me, because when I think of Detroit, I just think of an authentically Black ass city, and the ways in which it has become undermined by corruption and just by folks not pouring into the community has really just been, as an outsider, something that is just maddening. But then the other part of it is seeing how Detroiters are working to turn that around, you know, and just the efforts that have been made by this newer generation of elders to say, no, we buying back our blocks. Like we're challenging gentrification. We may have left, but we coming back, and we using that money that we got elsewhere and coming back to pour it into our communities. And like that to me is the bottom line of a real Black community. We have been tricked into thinking that a Black community means a violent community. We've been tricked into thinking, you know what I'm saying, that a Black community means like, you know, hood rats and hood niggas. And ultimately, you know, that's just a lack of resources. So as long as we keep pouring back in, like we can start rebuilding. And I love seeing that for Detroit. So like that's what I know about Detroit, and also Big Sean.
Big Sean, for sure. We will say, despite the good and the bad, we will rep and go hard for our city, no matter who talks bad about our city. As you know from our previous conversation. We will,
you know, so now I know that I'm not going to put this on Detroit, but so Andre does not believe in off the record conversations. So.
We rep the D hard. We rep the D hard.
Yes, the D. Let me tell you something about Detroit. You can't say Detroit is like y'all mama. Like you can talk about your mama, but nobody else can talk about your mama. And that is a fact. But I really haven't spent enough time in Detroit, but I know a lot of Detroiters, and the love y'all have for your city is palpable. And I hope that I get to experience even just a little bit of it when I come through on the 8th at the Fillmore.
October 8th at the Fillmore. We're going to have a blast, and we're going to party it up in the D. We're going to make sure that you have a good time.
Yes, I plan to have a good time. Make sure you get your tickets at amandaseals.com. Go to amandaseals.com. That's SEALES.com. And Randy Rosario and Jay Will been big supporters of me from a distance and up close. So really glad to get to reconnect with them on stage and do the damn thing.
We love to see it. Amanda Seals, everybody. AmandaSeals.com to get your tickets at the Fillmore Theater October 8th. We got all the details on our website as well at MichiganChronicle.com. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Andre. I really appreciate it.